My name is Arunima, and today we have someone really, really special. We've actually got Sandra Mohl from the Massey University joining us today, and I'm super grateful that you've managed to, spare time because I know how busy you are. So, Sandra, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Arunima. It's lovely to be with Ames Global today.
Thank you. Guys, so what we thought we'll do this time, because as you know, we've got, our education series going on. And what we thought we'll do today is start off Messi with setting the scene. So we've got Sandra here joining us, talking about why Massey University, what are the services, what are the extra support the students get, touch on some of the courses, but this is essentially a series 1 for Messi. This is going to be followed by quite a few other series where we are going to kind of really get into the construction engineering courses. Then we're going to get into the business courses and pick up those key courses that could really help those students that are within New Zealand, that may have come in previously a few years ago, and that are essentially looking at restarting their careers. I think that's what our campaign should be called. I think it should be Restarting Careers in New Zealand. So, if you've got your questions, I'm going to try and cover quite a lot of detail today, which is sort of overall from the university's perspective. But if you have questions, please ask those questions in the comment section, and we will be answering these. We will have team answering that straight away. So without further ado, I just wanted to quickly introduce Sandra. So Sandra, you've been with Messi for about 9 years, isn't it?
Yeah, quite a long time already.
So you deep down into the international education industry for a while. Where do you come from? Because you are from the sector. You work with other institutes as well.
And in New Zealand, I've been around in the education industry. It's what has attracted most of my attention. So I've been with Unitec first for a couple of years. Then I was with the University of Auckland for 5 years. And from there on, I moved to Massey University, which I'm really, really loving because I feel it's a really hands-on institution that works on what New Zealand is good at.
I know that, one of the things, Sandra, that you and I have been talking offline as well, is that we've seen that there's a lot of people in New Zealand that came in either, the spouse came to study quite a few years ago, and now maybe the wife wants to actually study, or somebody came to study a business course previously, and now they actually want to get into masters, or people are getting into bachelors of construction management. So people are essentially now through COVID, the goalposts have shifted in the immigration space, and people are essentially looking at re-educating themselves and upskilling themselves. What I've been noticing through the last few months this has been happening, that there is this initial resistance or a fear of looking at a university when they want to become a student again. And I know that you and I have spoken about it, but what's your opinion on that? Because I know Messi does a lot of onshore students as well.
Yeah. And it's quite a good question, Arunima, because we tend to think, university, that's just to become an academic, I'll be doing theory and nothing real that I can apply or use in New Zealand. But specifically in New Zealand, it's quite special because all New Zealand universities are government funded. And the reason the government is funding those universities is because they want to have useful people in the country. So if you study a degree at a New Zealand university, you basically are being guaranteed that whatever you study needs to be useful for New Zealand. Otherwise, the government would say, why am I spending money on you if you're not making something out of it? And with Massey University specifically, Massey is essentially what we call it the New Zealand Broad University. Every other university is based either Hamilton or just Auckland or just Wellington, and they don't cover the whole country.
Okay, so that's really good information to set the scene here. So Sandra, you've just talked about Messi being across New Zealand. So tell us, where are the campuses based for Messi that students can look at?
Yeah, we have 3 campuses, one in Palmerston North, one in Auckland, and one in Wellington. Messi was the first university in New Zealand offering an MBA, and it's one of the largest schools of business in New Zealand. And from there it spread, and as it grew, Palmerston North became too small. We needed to have a campus in Auckland, where we have more people, where we have the industrial kind of side of the country. So we had the Auckland campus. And then Wellington was added once we grew in the creative arts. Massey adopted the oldest school of creative arts in New Zealand. And Wellington is where all the film industry is happening. So that's how we grew.
That's good information. Now, so, if we go back to those students that are within New Zealand, they're looking at studying. The one question that comes to mind is sort of, there's so many options. There's some courses that you've got multiple providers. So tell us, why Messi for those students that are within New Zealand that are now looking at upskilling in terms of the support, industry connections? Why Messi is the
Yeah.
question for you?
There's a few things that make Massey quite unique. The three campus thing makes it sounds funny, but makes our classroom smaller, because in total we might have 35,000 students in New Zealand. But from those 35,000 students, half of them are doing online distance outside our main campuses. And the other ones are specifically on those sites. So we need to have 3 times the amount of staff to cater for the 3 campuses. There's campuses where we're stronger in one field than another. For example, if you're doing fine arts, you'll definitely go to Wellington. But if you decide to study a science or a humanities and social sciences, you can choose whether you want to do Palmerston North or Auckland, depending what's the environment you want. And as I said, the classes are smaller. So it's a combination that makes Massey quite unique. Also, the links with the industry. For example, the Center of Food Development and Research, I don't remember the name right now, is based in Palmerston North, because the big food producers in New Zealand, they have big concerns in Palmerston North, because that's the agricultural region of the North Island. So it's that sort of industry. In Auckland, for example, there's very, very strong industry with businesses, engineering, construction, extremely strong. We had a very close link with the warehouse, for example, for a Bachelor of Business in Retail Management, because warehouse came to Massey and said, hey, we get a lot of Bachelor of Business graduates, but they don't know about the retail industry. Can you do that? Aviation is the same. We have a Bachelor of Aviation Management, because we said, okay, if you don't want to be a pilot, but you want to be the manager at an airport or managing freight fleets in those sort of things, who does the business side of things? So Massey created a degree specifically for that, because the industry is requesting it.
Okay, so that's really good to know. So some of the key takeaways that I have from this is, obviously there's campuses across New Zealand that students can choose from. You've got obviously very strong internship programs built into the academic programs that you've got, which kind of gets those students really well connected with the industry. The other thing that really comes to these, that is often asked is, and where the hesitation for the universities happens is around the price point. So my question to you is these, are there scholarships or bursaries or discounts available for, the stronger academic students or students that have previously studied in New Zealand? What is your advice to them?
Yep, that's a very good question, Arunima. The main thing here is New Zealand being government, the New Zealand universities being government funded. What the government can offer to international students is quite limited. So there's not many scholarships offered by the government themselves. And Massey University is limited on the amount of budget they have to share in that sense. But in this case, Massey University is very keen on international students, not only because of the tuition fees. Actually, the university receives the same amount of money from an international student than a domestic student. The only difference is the domestic students are subsidized by the government, so the government pays 2/3 of the tuition fees, and the international students have to pay for the full fee by themselves. So that's the only difference. But financially for the university, it doesn't make a difference whether it's international or domestic. The difference with international students is that they bring something different. They bring a different culture, they bring knowledge from other countries, and they get our teachers actually to learn, because the questions they ask sometimes are completely different from what the traditional Kiwi will ask. So Massey University values the international students, not only because they are students, but also because they bring something more than the Kiwis, right? Okay. So what the colleges decided to do, okay, if the government is not funding these students, we will try and help them. So our colleges are now looking at offering a 5,000 New Zealand dollars discount per year of studies for our international students, obviously for the top academic performing students. So this is what they are doing. Our College of Business, Humanities and Social Sciences, Engineering have been offering this for a while, creative arts as well.
So does that spread out to across the board, or is it just for some courses?
It's across the board. In the past, creative arts said only undergraduate students. Humanities and social sciences said any student. business has been quite open, and the MBA has additional discounts as well. If it's a very highly qualified students with a lot of work experience, specifically for the MBA, they get an additional $2,000 discount.
Okay.
They assess it automatically. Or if they have extremely high grades, they get an additional discount. And the College of Science, we know they are looking at offering something similar. Engineering is already doing it. It's, I think, $3,000 instead of $5,000. But it's all pushing in that direction because we want those international students. They mean something to Massey.
Oh, that's really encouraging, because I think for a student to sort of get that little bit of jump start to help with some kind of bursary or scholarship is actually really encouraging, not just, from a monetary perspective, but also to know that they are valued. So I think those of you that are listening, where you kind of, are really resistant to look at a university, obviously Massey has got one of the widest range of courses available. And there are bursaries available. So definitely have it on your list. Now, moving along again, catering to that cohort of people that we've talked about. Sandra, a lot of these people would want to get into either the master's or would want to get into the bachelor's degrees. Now, because they're onshore, they can, obviously organizing funds, they don't get loans from the home countries because they may have been here for many, many years. So a lot of dependence is on savings that they've got here or savings that their families have got back home. Some of the students prefer to pay those fees in installments because it just works easier on the pocket, and transferring a large amount of funds from overseas can also be problematic. So if someone's coming in to do, say, for example, a bachelor's of engineering, would Messi allow for them to split their 1-year tuition fees into half? They will obviously get the visa only for the duration that they pay, but is that an option available?
With Massey University, the only requirement is that they pay for the full semester before the semester starts. Right? We don't mind if they want to pay for the full year or just one semester. It sometimes depends on immigration, what they require. Most of the time, it's okay to pay just for the one semester. But from what I know, they need to renew the visa after one semester again if they only pay for one semester.
Yeah, and it doesn't work for those people that are stuck offshore, because for them, like I know for a fact, I've been doing this for zonky years. Mumbai wouldn't give a visa without a whole year tuition fees plus really robust plans. Palmerston is moving that way, but there is still that availability to get a visa, which is per semester for some students. Okay, that then quite nicely takes me into my next question around cross credits. Now, there are students in New Zealand that may have come in to study in different polytechnics, and they may have done diplomas in mechanical engineering or diploma in 2 years diplomas in engineering, and they now want to get into the bachelor's degrees, or they may have had, say, for example, an overseas bachelor's of civil engineering, and they want to get into like a master's here into construction. So is there an option for any cross credits for qualifications that they've done in New Zealand or overseas? And I think those are two separate questions, so I'll let you answer that separately. Can you just advise what is the possibility for those students that have done qualifications in New Zealand that then form a part of the bigger bachelor's degree?
Yeah. All right, for the onshore ones that have been studying in New Zealand, it's a very straightforward process because being New Zealand so small, we know each other. We know the different institutions. We know where everybody's coming from. So if you're doing a Bachelor of Business anywhere, but it's an NZQA accredited Bachelor of Business, and you have done the first 2 years and want to come to Massey, our admissions people in the college will review what courses they did, if they got the right grades. I think in general, they need to have a B or B+ to get the credits for it. And we'll just do the assessment and get it sorted. You just need to let us know, hey, please assess me for credits. On top of that, there's many ITPs and small institutions that have agreements with Massey universities. I cannot list them all because they constantly change, and we get some more added, some get dropped because of any reasons. But if you are studying at a Polytech or at an ITP or anything like that, they will know if there's a special agreement with Massey University to give you an automated credit recognition. So you might be doing a diploma and you just need to finish the diploma, and we know you get into the second year or you get straight into the third year. So that your previous institution will know if they have an agreement with Massey University. If not, you can still apply for credits and it gets assessed. We do the assessment in 2 steps. First, we receive the application. And as soon as we receive it and we say, hey, this student is good, we'll send out the offer just saying you're admitted, so that you know everything's going well. And then it's a second round where we look, okay, at what level, which year should the student start, and we check for credits. So don't freak out if the first instance they tell you it's a 3 years degree, because at UNIMA you will be looking after them and you will be in touch with the students. That's what AIMS Global does. And we'll tell them, hey, Massey is still assessing for credits, and we'll let you know how many credits you get.
That is quite standard across the board. So for those people that are looking at sort of falling into that and they are aiming for the Feb intake, Sandra, what is your suggestion? Because we now end of September, October. Obviously, you know, the admission needs to be done and then the cross-crediting needs to be done. So how soon do they, and obviously then you've got the visa process that needs to be done. And, you know, we at AIMS Global are helping through all of this end to end. But what are you suggesting to those people? When should they start applying for the Feb intake?
All right. My recommendation is just send your application as soon as you can, even if you haven't completed your application. On the application process, you will state, I'm working towards this qualification and will finish in November, because then our admissions people know, hey, this is ongoing, the student is still doing more, and we can look at a conditional offer waiting for the previous qualification to be finished, right?
That's really good.
In general, if you're doing a study that is 1 year or longer, we can start assessing 1 semester before you finish. If you're only doing 1 semester qualification, it will be very hard for our admissions people to say, okay, this is enough to consider for credits. You'll probably need a little bit more study, but you can still submit the application so that we can go into saying, hey, we know you exist, we have you on our records, and as soon as you get your transcripts, your results, we can process faster because it's already in the system and we're ready to move forward.
Okay. That makes complete sense. And I think that was just, sorry, I cut you off there. Just for those people that are offshore, that may be doing the degree programs, but are very keen, because New Zealand's looking very attractive to the rest of the world right now, as you know, as we know. It's a good place to be in right now. So a lot of people are looking at coming into New Zealand whenever those borders open for international students. What is your advice around the cross-crediting for those people that are offshore and have got offshore qualifications?
All right. Well, first of all, lucky the ones that are here in New Zealand, even if they studied abroad, because you can start. You don't have those limitations with borders. Please don't go on holidays for Christmas period, because New Zealand might not let you get back in. Wait a little bit longer. Hang on until this COVID gets under control. But even if you are in New Zealand and you have your qualifications from offshore, our admissions people have a very strong database of all the universities around the world that are recognized in each of the country you're coming from. So if you submit an application with half a degree done, we can review for credits. They will first check what institution that is, whether it's a recognized institution in your country of Oregon. And then they will need a detailed description of the subjects that you passed. So what did the course cover? If you did a paper in accountancy, exactly what part of accountancy did it cover? Because that is then passed on to the college. They will review and say, oh, that's basically the same as our Accountancy 101 course. The student doesn't need to do it again. So it's just a step-by-step process, and we will need the course description for what they finished, every single course.
Okay, all right. No, that sets the scene. I think that kind of nicely brings us to sort of almost the end of our session. Before, Sandra, I'll let you go. Again, a reminder for those of you that are listening to us, this was only a teaser. It was only a teaser to kind of get into this talk about Messi. We are going to have some dedicated sessions. And at this stage, I'm hoping that we can, do some sessions around the construction courses, bring some academics to talk about the courses, around the engineering courses, business, and we might have a few more. Sandra, before I wrap this up, can you just talk to us very quickly, just name the courses, because a lot of the onshore students are looking at the bachelor's and the master's, the postgrads and the master's. In the construction space, do you remember just very quickly the courses that are popular in that area where students have been placed?
Yep. Into construction, obviously we have undergraduate and postgraduate being such an important
area,
profession, I would say. So in the Bachelor of Construction, we have 2 majors, construction management and quantity surveying. So there it tells you again, you're going to be a manager. You're not going to be the one putting the tiles on the house. You're the one managing it. That's the purpose of those programs. And at the master level, let me just go, I'm scrolling down. we have quite a few specializations for you to choose from. It can be building technology, construction law, construction project management, facilities management, quantity surveying, or if you want to stay generic, we have one without specialization. So as you see, it's very broad and very specific in what do you like to do. So that's one of the good options there. We do have engineering as well, as you said, Arunima. It's very much into the applying and the applied and the processes. So we have electronics and computer engineering, mechatronics, packaging technology, which is very unique for Massey University, into the sense of Massey, New Zealand exports so many products, you need to package them and properly and safe. So we have a specific Master of Engineering in packaging technology. And of course, we have renewable energy systems, being New Zealand and ecology, a very sustainable environment focused country.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Sandra. We will, guys, we will be posting about these courses. So don't think that that's too much. It's a mouthful, because I know that Messi's got so many courses, but I just wanted to kind of mention them today. There are those really sought after business. I know the Massey Business School is absolutely sought after by domestic and international students. There's a graduate diploma in teaching primary and secondary for a year, which leads you to becoming a teacher in New Zealand. So we are going to be posting about these courses, and the next series that we will have about Messi will be covering and delving further into these occupations and these courses. Sandra, is there anything else that we've missed that we want to quickly cover off and then wrap this up?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to mention, I put on the chat box. Did I put it in the general one? Can everybody see it or not?
We can make sure that everybody sees this.
Yeah. Because it's basically the listing of scholarships. You can go in there and say what type of scholarships Massey University has, and the full list of programs that are open to our international students. Open means full-time on campus, because that's one of the special things with Massey University. Again, because we are so strong in distance education, there's many programs that are only offered part-time or intended for students who are already working full-time. But immigration doesn't allow our international students to be doing part-time to get a student visa. So the listing I provided there is all the programs that we have full-time on campus to ensure that when you apply to those programs, you will get a student visa.
That's right. And when you do apply through us, obviously that's where our expertise comes in. So that's really good information. I think that sets us quite nicely, Sandra, for the other sessions that we are going to have. So guys, follow our Facebook page, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, to make sure that you know when these next sessions are coming through, so that you know that you can attend these sessions and ask your questions. Sandra, again, thank you so very much for joining us. We at Ames Global are really, really pleased to have Messi on board, and it was really nice to have a chat with you.
Thank you. We're also very happy to have Ames on board with us, because you are supporters to promote and support the students to be successful and go to the right institution for their own needs.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. You have a good evening. We'll be in touch with you soon.